Hi, I'm George Gendron, and I'm the founder and the director of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation program at Clark University. As you can see, we're filming this here today at the headquarters of XM Satellite Radio down in Washington, D.C. And our guest this afternoon is Hugh Panero, who is the CEO of XM and graduate of Clark University in 1978, where he was a dual major in government and sociology. And also with us, joining us this afternoon, is Diana Levine, who's a senior at Clark and also a dual major in photography and psychology. And Diana's going to talk a little bit with Hugh this afternoon about kind of how he got from where many of you are today, kind of sitting in a desk in either high school or an undergraduate program, to the point where he's running kind of one of the country's most visible companies that's sitting right at the intersection of entertainment and technology.
What was your first job? How did you first start earning money?
The first thing I did was I worked for a law firm in New York City and as a paralegal, and didn't like it, got bored. And then what I did was I took a class on cable television. One of the magical moments in my life was when a woman came in, said she had worked for a trade magazine and that it was about cable TV. It was a monthly magazine going weekly, and they were looking for journalists. So what I did was I knocked a bunch of people down, gave her a card, then left the room, wrote up a story about the class, and I sent that along with my resume. And she rewarded me with a $9,000 a year job writing for this cable magazine, which kind of launched my career in that business, and then I sort of evolved to other things.
Who are some of your inspirations as you're younger, and even today, who are some of your inspirations?
My father was an inspiration. He was a guy who was an architect, interior designer. He kind of gave me a certain ability to kind of see beyond today and see tomorrow and take some risks. Getting to Clark, there was a guy there named John O'Connor who was very involved in the university, and he was sort of a renaissance man at Clark. He was a great athlete. He was a student leader. He was an activist. And he introduced that all to me at a young age. And then there's a guy named Richard Aurelio, who was a former deputy mayor of New York City, who was a mentor of mine. Everybody needs mentors. I would tell all of you to find mentors, you know. I really love a poem called If by Kipling. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, nor walk with kings and keep your common touch, it kind of teaches a little bit about how to live life. So I think that was probably a big inspiration for me when I found that poem a long, long time ago.
When you were in college, what was the career that you envisioned for yourself?
I think when I went to Clark, I went there to sort of experience life, have an exposure to the liberal arts education that Clark offered. And I think one of the disciplines at school is to learn to have balance. I mean, learn to be dedicated to your studies and dedicated to evolving as a person and dedicated to, at times, having fun. But the idea is to kind of do those things all in an environment together so not one of them kind of overwhelms you.
What advice do you give to students who feel as if they're not being encouraged to take advantage of the opportunity that you just described as an undergraduate in a liberal arts environment to go explore?
Well, I would say that it's a bit overrated to say that, you know, when you enter as a freshman, you should have your kind of life planned out for you, because I would never be where I am today if that's sort of how I planned it out. You shouldn't feel an amazing pressure that you have to decide, I think is what your point was, what you got to do 5 minutes later, but you should use some common sense to determine what are the courses and curriculums to help just set up so that you have the most options available.
What about your future aspirations?
I just think life is a constantly changing set of things that you want to do. I enjoyed when I was in cable television. I enjoyed running a pay-per-view network. I've actually unbelievably enjoyed starting up XM and being here. And I think there's other kinds of things that, you know, I can do in the future, but it may be in a totally different area, you know. But I think as when I left college, I'll leave here and I'll, you know, let things take their course.
Do you ever think about doing something really big and impactful in the area of nonprofits?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I've thought about that. This area where we're now doing this interview is a good example of that. I wanted kind of a cool, funky building. And I remember I was walking through here with a former executive who was kind of a military type. And we came here, we passed by hookers on the street. There was a drug deal going on in the McDonald's. We found bullets on the roof. And I walked through the building, and I'm getting all excited about this building. I'm saying, this is the greatest building of all time. The guy, he just thinks I'm like absolutely out of my mind. And I just fell in love with the place. And a lot of it was because of the work I used to do at Clark, where we used to go out into the community and help out. You can do well and do good at the same time. You all go to Clark and you go there for different reasons, but once you're there, it kind of nurtures maybe some of these instinctive things that you have in you, and Clark did a great job of doing that with me.
Thank you very much for spending time with us this afternoon, for donating this incredible space. And Diana, thank you for
Thank you.
Great.
coming down and spending time with you and I.